So, fun little facts about me, I'm almost 20 years old.
For more than 2 decades, Simon Cowell has built his legacy as the man who never flinches. The crisp white shirts, the sharp comments, the raised eyebrow, he was the face of brutal honesty in an industry obsessed with sugarcoating. To millions, Simon was the embodiment of control, a man immune to sentiment. Yet, that evening on America's Got Talent, the man known for his unshakable composure suddenly fell silent. His eyes welled up with tears, and for a moment, the famously unflappable judge looked profoundly human. The entire theater froze in disbelief. What could possibly move television's toughest critic to tears? The answer lay not in shock value or pity, but in the raw emotional power of a young woman who had once captured his heart through talent, courage, and authenticity, Darci Lynne Farmer. The rise of Simon Cowell, from rejection to revolution. Simon Cowell's journey to becoming one of the most influential figures in entertainment wasn't lined with red carpets. It was paved with failure, grit, and a stubborn refusal to quit. In the early 1980s, Simon left his job at EMI to form his own record company, ENS Music. It flopped. His next venture, Fanfare Records, started with promise, but eventually went bankrupt, leaving him nearly penniless. He lost his car, his savings, and much of his confidence. But Simon's resilience was forged in those losses. By the mid-1990s, he clawed his way back, landing a consultant role at BMG and launching S Records. His knack for spotting hits turned novelty acts like Power Rangers and WWF superstars into chart sensations. Then came a breakthrough that changed his fortune, convincing actors Robson Green and Jerome Flynn to record Unchained Melody, which dominated the UK charts for 7 weeks. From there, Simon's career ignited, crafting an empire, from pop idol to American Idol. Simon's real genius lay not just in recognizing talent, but in recognizing television's hunger for authenticity. Teaming up with TV mogul Simon Fuller, he helped create Pop Idol, a show that introduced a revolutionary format, turning ordinary people into overnight stars. When Pop Idol debuted in 2001, it was a cultural earthquake, and by 2002, American Idol carried that shockwave across the Atlantic. Simon's razor-sharp wit and unapologetic honesty made him a global phenomenon. Lines like, "I don't mean to be rude, but," became part of pop culture itself. But what most viewers didn't see was the strategy behind his so-called cruelty. Cowell understood that truth, no matter how painful, creates transformation. He wasn't just a judge. He was a teacher who demanded excellence. That ethos helped launch some of music's biggest names, from Kelly Clarkson to Leona Lewis. The expansion of a brand, the X Factor, and Got Talent. By the mid-2000s, Simon Cowell was more than a judge. He was a brand. With the X Factor in 2004 and America's Got Talent in 2006, he revolutionized talent television. These shows weren't just competitions, they were celebrations of potential. Singers, dancers, magicians, and comedians found a stage where dreams became visible. The X in X Factor stood for that undefinable spark, something Simon claimed you couldn't teach, but could always feel. Through these platforms, he helped launch careers for artists like One Direction, Fifth Harmony, and Little Mix, reshaping the music landscape. Behind the scenes, Cowell's company, Psycho, became a powerhouse in music and television, turning his sharp tongue and high standards into an empire worth hundreds of millions. Simon the Man, a life behind the lens. Off-screen, Simon's life was just as eventful as the shows he produced. Known for his bachelor image, he had high-profile relationships with British TV presenter Terry Seymour and makeup artist Mejgan Husseini. But it was his relationship with Lauren Silverman that truly transformed him. Their romance began under complicated circumstances. Lauren was married to one of Simon's close friends. The situation became tabloid fodder overnight, but Simon remained calm amid the storm. In 2014, their son, Eric, was born, and the man who once said he would never be a father found a new purpose. "Becoming a dad changed everything," he later said. "I care less about what people think of me now and more about what Eric will think." Through health scares, including a serious back injury in 2020, Simon learned to slow down, reevaluate his priorities, and reconnect with what truly mattered: family, health, and purpose. Darci's journey, from child prodigy to national treasure. Darci's rise was meteoric, but it was her humility that made her unforgettable. After winning AGT, she appeared on talk shows, performed with legends, and toured across the US, selling out theaters. Yet she remained grounded, juggling her education with stardom. Her parents, Misty and Clark Farmer, made sure she never lost touch with her roots. Over the years, Darci evolved as an artist, adding new puppets, refining her vocals, and slowly stepping out from behind her ventriloquism act to showcase her pure singing ability. Her return to America's Got Talent, The Champions in 2019, and later Fantasy League in 2024, proved she was no longer the little girl with a puppet. She was an artist in her own right, ready to carve out a new identity. When the student moves the master, the moment that shook Simon Cowell came during Darci Lynne's return to America's Got Talent, Fantasy League in 2024. Instead of her usual comedic ventriloquism act, Darci made a bold choice. She sang alone. No puppets, no safety net. It was her way of stepping out of her comfort zone, of proving that she was more than the talent people remembered. The decision was risky. The judges had advised her not to stray from what made her famous. But Darci trusted her instincts. When she took the stage, her voice was trembling but strong, her lyrics full of vulnerability and growth. As the song built to its final note, the entire theater fell silent. And then, something rare happened. Simon Cowell's composure cracked. His eyes glistened. The man who had made countless contestants cry was now fighting tears himself. A moment of humanity on live television. What Simon saw that night wasn't just talent, it was transformation. He had watched Darci evolve from a child performer into a fearless young woman taking ownership of her art. Her courage to defy expectations mirrored the very quality Simon has spent his life rewarding: authenticity. When the performance ended, Simon stood up, speechless for once. Then, with emotion in his voice, he said, "You remind me why I do this. You make me believe in this show again." For viewers, it was a rare window into Simon's heart. The tears weren't about pity. They were about pride. He wasn't just judging a performance. He was witnessing a legacy taking shape before his eyes. The lesson beneath the tears. Simon Cowell's emotional reaction became a viral moment, but beneath it was a simple truth. Even the toughest critics are moved by sincerity. It was a reminder that artistry isn't just about hitting notes or pulling off tricks. It's about connection. Darci's performance cut through the noise, reaching a part of Simon that fame and fortune couldn't touch. It reminded the world that behind every sharp comment and stoic facade lies a man who built his career on believing in people's dreams. And for Darci Lynne, it was validation that her evolution, her decision to take risks and be vulnerable, was the right one. The power of vulnerability. In many ways, Simon and Darci's moment represents the essence of entertainment at its best. One stood for the establishment, the other for the new generation. One built the stage, the other redefined it. When their worlds collided that night, it wasn't just a performance, it was a passing of the torch, a symbol of how creativity evolves and emotion endures. For Simon, it was proof that even after decades in the industry, something pure and heartfelt could still move him to tears. For Darci, it was a new beginning, a reminder that growth sometimes means letting go of what made you comfortable. Conclusion. Beyond the spotlight. The tears Simon Cowell shed weren't just for Darci Lynne. They were for everything he's seen and endured in a lifetime of chasing perfection. They were for the young artists who remind him why he started, for the risks that pay off, and for the moments when truth breaks through performance. Over the years, Simon has been called ruthless, arrogant, even heartless. But that night, viewers saw what lies beneath. A man who feels deeply when confronted with something genuine. In the end, that's what connects Simon Cowell and Darci Lynne Farmer. The courage to be authentic, to take risks, and to let emotions speak louder than words. And in that brief, beautiful moment, the toughest man on television reminded the world that even critics have hearts. And sometimes, all it takes to open them is one unforgettable song.